Honestly, crushes are the worst. I hate falling in love. And I don't mean I hate being in love. Being in love, the actual mutual both people are in it version, that's nice. What I hate is the falling part. The part before anything has actually happened. The part where your brain latches onto someone and starts building a whole future before you've even had a real conversation with them. That part. That's the part that destroys me every single time. And the worst thing about it is that I can feel it happening and I still can't stop it. Let me give you an example. You're at your job, normal day, nothing special, and there's this person you work with, maybe not even in your department, someone you see in passing, in the hallway, in the break room, at the coffee machine, and one day they say something to you, something small, something throwaway. Maybe they compliment your jacket, maybe they laugh at something you said in a meeting, maybe they just hold the door open and make eye contact for a second longer than strangers usually do. And that's it. That's the whole interaction. 3 seconds, maybe 5. Nothing that would register as significant to a normal, healthy, emotionally regulated human being. But you're not a normal, healthy, emotionally regulated human being. Not when it comes to this. You're someone whose brain takes 3 seconds of warmth and turns it into a screenplay. And the screenplay starts writing itself immediately. Before you've even left the hallway, before you've even finished your coffee, your brain is already casting them as the lead in a movie they don't know they're in. And the movie is detailed, embarrassingly detailed. You've already imagined what it would be like to text them. You've already imagined the first real conversation, the one where you'd actually talk, really talk, and they'd say something that confirms every assumption you've already made about who they are. You've already imagined the first time you'd hang out outside of work, the restaurant you'd go to, the thing you'd both laugh about, the moment where the vibe shifts from friendly to something more, and you both feel it, but neither of you says anything yet. And you've done all of this based on a jacket compliment, a held door, a 2-second laugh. That's your entire evidence base. And from that evidence base, you have constructed a person. Not the real person. You don't know the real person. You know their name and what they look like and the sound of their voice, and maybe 1 or 2 surface level facts. But the person in your head, the one your brain built from scraps, that person is perfect. That person gets you. That person laughs at your specific kind of humor. That person listens to the same music. That person would love the things you love and understand the things you don't say and look at you in that way you've been wanting someone to look at you for years. And the person doesn't exist. They're a projection, a fantasy wearing a real person's face. And you know that. Somewhere in the back of your mind, behind the screenplay, you know that. But the knowing doesn't stop the falling. The knowing just makes the falling feel stupid on top of everything else. And then you start adjusting your behavior. That's the part that really makes me hate myself. Because the second the falling starts, the performing starts. You start timing when you go to the break room based on when they usually go. You start choosing outfits differently. Not dramatically, just slightly. Just enough that if they happen to notice, you look like someone worth noticing. You start rehearsing things to say in case you run into them. Casual things, throwaway things, things designed to sound effortless even though you practiced them in the mirror that morning. And the rehearsing is humiliating because you know, objectively, that this person probably spent 0 seconds thinking about you today. You occupied none of their mental space. They held a door open for you because that's what people do. They laughed at the meeting because the thing you said was funny. That's it. There's no deeper meaning. There's no hidden signal. There's no mutual screenplay being written in their head. It's just you, alone in a movie theater playing a film only you bought a ticket for. And the thing that makes this worse than a crush, worse than just thinking someone is attractive, is the emotional weight. Because you're not just attracted to them, you've already attached to them. Your nervous system has already started to organize around them. Your mood is already affected by whether you see them that day or not. You walk into work and they're not there and the day feels flatter. You walk into work and they smile at you and the whole morning lifts. And you're aware of how insane that is. You're aware that a fully grown adult should not have their entire emotional temperature regulated by whether or not a near stranger smiled at them in a hallway. But here you are, thermostat in someone else's hands, and they don't even know they're holding it. And then comes the part that actually hurts. The part I've been through enough times to see coming, but never enough times to build immunity to. You see them with someone. Not with someone romantically necessarily, just with someone, talking, laughing, having the easy, natural kind of conversation that you've been rehearsing in your head for weeks, but have never actually had with them. And your stomach drops. Not a little, a lot. Like elevator cable snapped drops. And the drop makes no sense because nothing happened. Nobody cheated on you. Nobody left you. Nobody broke a promise. Because there were no promises. There was no relationship. There was nothing except a screenplay you wrote by yourself in your own head, and now you're heartbroken over a movie that never got made. And that's the part I hate the most. The heartbreak that has no source. The sadness that doesn't qualify for sympathy. Because you can't go to your friends and say, I'm really hurting right now because the person at work who held a door open for me once was laughing with someone else today. You can't say that. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds unhinged. And maybe it is, but the feeling is real. The dropping stomach is real. The deflation is real. The specific kind of rejection that comes from never being rejected because you were never considered in the first place, that's real. And it hits harder than actual rejection in some ways. Because actual rejection at least means you were in the arena. This isn't even rejection. This is invisibility. This is standing outside a window, watching someone live their life and being devastated that their life doesn't include you, even though they never knew you were standing there. And I've done this more times than I want to count. Different people, different settings, same exact pattern. The coffee shop regular who smiled at me 3 times in 2 weeks, and suddenly I'm imagining weekend mornings with them. The friend of a friend who sat next to me at a dinner party and asked me one personal question, and now I'm replaying the question in my head like it was a confession. The person on the train who made eye contact and held it for 2 stops, and I built a whole version of them based on nothing except the way their eyes looked under fluorescent lighting. Every time, the same thing, the same falling, the same screenplay, the same eventual realization that the person in my head and the person in real life are 2 completely different people, and I was never in love with the real one because I never gave the real one a chance to exist. I just replaced them with my version before they could show me theirs. And I think the reason I keep doing this, the reason the pattern repeats even though I've identified it and named it and can describe it with clinical precision, is because the falling feels good. In the moment, before the drop, before the reality check, before the stomach sinking encounter with the truth, the falling feels incredible. It's the most alive I feel. The morning where I'm getting ready and thinking about whether I'll see them today, that morning has color in it. The day where we actually exchange a few words, that day has weight. The night where I lie in bed replaying the exchange and inflating its significance, that night feels full. And fullness is what I'm missing most of the time. The rest of my life, the parts without the falling, feels ordinary, functional, fine, but not full. And the falling fills it. Temporarily, artificially, but it fills it. And I'm addicted to the filling. Even though the filling always ends the same way. With me standing outside a window, watching someone laugh with someone who isn't me, feeling something break that was never actually built. And I think what I'm really afraid of underneath all of this is the real version. The version where I actually talk to the person, actually get to know them, actually let them be a real, flawed, complicated human being instead of the perfect projection I've been carrying around. Because the projection is safe. The projection can't disappoint me because I control every variable. The projection laughs at my jokes because I wrote the script. The projection understands me because I decided it does. But the real person might not laugh. The real person might not understand. The real person might be boring or mean or incompatible or just not interested. And the not interested part is the one that paralyzes me. Because as long as I stay in the falling, as long as I stay in the screenplay, as long as I never actually say the thing or ask the question or bridge the gap between the imagined version and the real one, I get to keep the fantasy alive. And the fantasy, even though it's lonely, even though it's one-sided, even though it's built on nothing, is still the closest thing to love I have. And giving it up, walking away from the window, would mean standing in the open with no screenplay, no projection, no safety net, just me, asking someone real to see me, and risking that they look and decide I'm not worth the screen time. And that's why I hate falling in love. Not because the feeling is bad, because the feeling is a trap, a beautiful, intoxicating, perfectly designed trap that my brain sets for me over and over using different bait each time. And I fall for it every time. And the fall is always the same height, and the landing is always the same bruise. And the bruise heals just enough for the next person to hold a door open, and the whole thing starts again. And I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to walk past someone who smiles at me and not start the screenplay. I don't know how to receive warmth without building a house around it. I don't know how to just let a moment be a moment instead of turning it into the opening scene of something that only exists in my head. And I don't know if that makes me a romantic or a masochist or just someone who's been lonely long enough that any scrap of attention gets turned into a meal because the table has been empty for so long. But I know this. Every time I fall for someone I've invented, I get further from the possibility of loving someone real. Because the invented version is taking up all the space, and the space is limited. And the real person one, the one who might actually want to know me, can't get in because the fantasy is blocking the door. And the fantasy is standing there looking exactly like everything I've ever wanted. And the real person standing behind it just looks like a stranger. And I keep choosing the fantasy. And the fantasy keeps disappointing me. And the disappointing keeps confirming what I've suspected all along, that I don't actually hate falling in love. I hate that falling in love is the only version of it I know how to do. And the version that comes after the falling, the standing, the staying, the being known, I've never made it that far. And I'm starting to wonder if the falling is the thing that's keeping me from getting there. And that thought right there is the one I lie awake with. Not the screenplay, not the projection, not the person at work or the coffee shop or the train, just that thought. The quiet, honest, middle-of-the-night realization that the thing I keep calling love might actually be the thing that's keeping me from it. And I don't know what to do with that yet, but at least I said it.